monsters and
Okay,
shopkeepers.
I figured you'd go in there and change it. I'm
guess
not
I
feeling
trusted
good
you.
about it. It was just quick. It's always 3 things.
It's 4 things. Do you even pay attention to our own podcast?
Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
I'll make it up on the spot. I'm not saying fuzzy pets.
Hamtaros, Mogwais.
If we work
Digimons.
together, it's much better. My
Pokemons.
best friend, Hamtaro. Hey there, Mogwais, monsters, shopkeepers, and inventors.
This is our second holiday episode of What Happens in the Crypt.
We're talking about the 1984 movie, Gremlins.
This was written by Chris Columbus and directed by Joe Dante, with Steven Spielberg as executive producer. Trigger warnings include violence and gore.
The story follows a young man who receives a strange creature called a Mogwai as a pet, which then spawns other creatures who transform into small, destructive, evil monsters.
Taglines include cute, clever, mischievous, intelligent, dangerous.
Wow, okay.
You don't like that?
It's like,
You're against
yeah.
my delivery?
No. The tagline.
I thought my
I
delivery
don't know.
was pretty spot
The
on.
delivery was good. I don't know
Thank
about
you.
the tagline, though.
Another one is, don't get him wet, keep him out of bright light, and never feed him after midnight.
Never feed him after midnight.
Which is just the whole,
That's
all
the rules.
all the rules that all get broken.
Randall Peltzer, a struggling inventor, visits a Chinatown antique store in the hope of finding a Christmas present for his son Billy. You actually see a broken down car, and guess what car that is?
A gremlin?
It's a gremlin.
I do remember that, yeah.
We should post a picture of Poom.
Yeah. We call Palmer a gremlin, and we have a picture of her with a gremlin in the car.
So we always say it's our gremlin with a gremlin.
Mm-hmm. She used to look like Gizmo, and now she looks how she looks.
Like Dobby.
It's at the antique shop that the boy that brought him there shows him the Mogwai, who we know to become Gizmo, and the shop owner refuses to sell him to him.
The sneaky little grandson literally makes a back alley deal with him and sells it to Randall anyways.
Right, and this is when we, for the first time, hear the rules. And of course, like, there's no card. There's no way to remember these things. There's no instruction manual. It's just like a high pressure, like, here's cash for this big singing hamster. And don't do all of these things. And then he takes him home.
He could have stressed a little more importance.
Right, no consequences. Consequences are really good for remembering things.
Because he just says, don't feed him midnight. Don't feed him midnight. Do not feed him the darkness. Don't feed him sunlight. Don't feed him midnight.
Don't feed him midnight. Oh, wow.
Don't feed him after midnight. Don't get him wet. But there's no context to it. It would have... I feel like he would have remembered it a little bit better if he said, like, hey, if you get him wet...
It's gonna get evil.
It's... No, that's the feeding. Getting him wet just makes a million of them.
But the million of them are evil.
Yeah, those little bastards.
Basically, everything turns evil.
Except Gizmo.
Gizmo. I'm just picturing, like, don't feed him the darkness. And
I
he's like,
imagine him just sucking up...
or he's like eating a
fog
Black
cloud.
Sabbath CD. He's eating the darkness.
He's eating the void.
Yeah. The dad returns home, and this is where we meet Billy, who's like the main character of this movie. And Billy works at the bank, and he has issues with his like deranged neighbor who, wow, I forget about her existence before.
She literally wants to kill the dog.
She wants to kill his dog, like wants to brag about how she's going to kill his dog. She's fucking crazy. But basically, Dad comes home and gives him the Mogwai as an early Christmas present.
Little Gizmo. He's so cute. I always forget how cute he is.
He is very cute.
And the noises he makes are all super cute.
And singing.
The dog's reaction is priceless here.
Yeah, when Billy opens the box, the dog like growls, and you see the woman that plays the mom is like holding the dog back. And I guess when they shot this scene, that was like the first time the dog had never seen the robot, and it was like real reaction.
The first time
he was
Billy
gonna
had
get
seen
it.
too.
Yeah.
Has it got a name, Dad?
Yeah, Mogwai.
What?
Mogwai. I don't know, it's some Chinese word. I just call him Gizmo. He seems to like it.
I love the scenes where Gizmo's just kind of chilling and watching TV and stuff. He's just hanging out. Oh, and that's also when one of the Coreys shows up.
Yeah. It's Corey Feldman.
Yeah, after Billy goes to work at the bank, where he also brings his dog for some reason.
So weird.
And then it attacks the lady who threatened to kill it. Mm-hmm. What's her name again? Mrs. Deagle? Miss Deagle?
I think so. Yeah, Mrs. Deagle.
She sucks.
She does
But the
suck.
dog literally attacks her in the middle of the bank.
Yes, like biting her. That is bad news. If Palmer did that, we'd be in big trouble.
I'd kill for her.
I know, but if she jumped over a desk and bit someone,
Then they deserve it.
we're taking responsibility.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
We'll take responsibility and end what she started.
Jesus Christ. She's probably just sleeping on her heated blanket in the other room right now.
Back to Corey.
Yeah, so of course Billy is really excited to show off his new pet.
Oh, his name is Pete in this movie.
Of course, by like an accident, they have Gizmo on the desk, and Pete, aka Corey Feldman, dumps a little glass of water on Gizmo, thus breaking one of the rules.
Yeah, and he just starts screaming in pain.
And this part is so weird too, because he's like, oh man, like what's wrong with it? And then like gets distracted and goes back to like watching TV or reading a comic book or something while this poor little animal is just screaming.
Screaming and kicking and bubbling, and then these little puff balls shoot off of him.
Can I hold him?
Sure. I don't see why not. He seems to like you. Great. Thanks a lot.
Sorry. Who's in that jar?
Nothing, just water.
Why is he making that noise?
Yeah, and the puffballs, the technical term, slowly transform into new Mogwai.
Little gizmos. Actually, I think they are the same size. They're not even little. There's just like 6 of them.
Yeah.
And my oh my, they are dicks.
Yeah, they're mean. They're cute, but they like somehow in like the design of the faces, they have like evil eyebrows. You can tell by looking at them who the bad ones are.
Yeah, and their leader with his little mohawk.
Stripe. Everyone knows Stripe.
They're all mean to Gizmo and they bully him.
Oh, I hate that part when Gizmo has like unwrapped a little present under the Christmas tree and he's just tooting away on his tiny trumpet and they throw up on him.
Yeah.
Fucking assholes.
I think it's just like they spit at him.
It looks like puke. It's gross, but he was just tooting away.
Billy decides that the logical thing to do is to take one of them to his science teacher.
I mean, he's supposed to be high school age, right,
Yeah.
Billy? Yeah. That's logical for a high school kid.
I suppose, but if I find an alien, I'm not taking it to a high school.
Well, if you're in high school, that's like your frame of reference.
If I was in high school, I would not have done that.
Okay. Well, you're not Billy. Moving on.
I would have made an army of gremlins.
Well, that's not good. They do that to themselves.
Yeah, but I would have done it on purpose. There would have been so many more.
Oh my god.
I would have killed everybody.
Back at home, the new little Mogwais are definitely, like we mentioned, troublemakers, and they're like screaming and jumping all over the place trying to get Billy to feed them. So of course the second rule is don't feed them after midnight, and Billy looks at the clock and it's 11:30, so he gives them some food and goes to sleep. And
But
of course
it turns out...
but firstly, our good boy Gizmo says no thank you.
Yep, he's a good little guy. Who always sleeps right cuddled with Billy in bed.
So cute.
It's so cute. But it turns out that the bad ones had chewed through the cable of his clock, so it was after midnight.
Yep.
No.
Bamboozled him.
Bamboozled. And it also turns out the one that they gave to the science teacher, it had also
He snuck a sandwich.
snuck a little sandwich. The next time we see the little evil gremlin, the little evil Mogwai, sorry.
Spoiler.
The next time we see the little evil Mogwai, Stripe and his gang, they are now these cocoons. These gross-looking cocoons.
Of course, when Billy sees the cocoons, he runs off to the high school to see the science teacher. But when he gets there, he sees that the one that he had has already hatched at this point, and the teacher is unconscious / dead under the desk. Of course, like in a panic, Billy calls his mom, who's still at home, to warn her that, like, I think at this point he's seen the gremlin and it escapes into like the air ducts, kind of. So he calls her to warn her about the other ones that are there. And then mom gets like some crazy defensive shit going on and she's ready to fight.
She kills one with the blender.
The blender.
Thing.
I was like the garbage disposal, but no, she does throw one in the microwave.
One gets microwaved.
They're all brutal. She definitely stabs one to death as well, like with a knife.
It's a very brutal scene. Yeah, and one's like choking her. With
yeah, they're
Christmas tree
nasty.
cord.
That's when Billy comes home, is when that one has her, like in the nick of time.
And isn't that Stripe?
I think so.
Yeah, Stripe. So yeah, basically Stripe is the only one that survives that attack. It's fun to stay at the... You're supposed to say...
YMCA.
That's where Stripe goes.
Yeah. So, of course, he goes to the YMCA to jump into the pool, thus forming a big old gremlin army.
Yeah, there's a lot.
A lot.
That seems pretty cool.
Like
with all the
uncountable.
smoke and,
yeah. The whole pool just like bubbles and boils.
Billy tries to warn the police of what he has seen in this new gremlin army, but, I mean, yeah, they don't believe him.
And I love that, too, when he, like, goes to the police, he, like, brings Gizmo as, like, proof. He's like, look at this thing. Poor little Gizmo is, like, singing and being adorable, and they're like, what are you talking about?
His little singing.
But, yeah, so the police pretty much ignore Billy, and the gremlins are just, like, causing chaos and murdering people all throughout town.
R.I.P. Mrs. Deagle.
The scene with Mrs. Deagle, the gremlins basically like rig her stair lift and it like zooms her out of the window at like 100 miles per hour.
And she lands right in front of the police.
Yeah. The police who are like staying in their car and ignoring people asking them for help. Like,
yeah, there's somebody covered in gremlins
like,
running through the street screaming and they're just like,
I love that in that scene too. The passenger police officer is like, I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to help these people. Just take me home. After
this, we see them destroying a local bar and getting pretty messed up.
They're getting lit.
Yeah.
You don't like that?
No, I love it. Yes, they are. They're literally like smoking,
Getting lit.
They're literally smoking, like, some of them are smoking multiple cigarettes.
Like 3 cigarettes at a time.
While they're doing shots.
They're wild.
Yeah, they're forcing Kate, Billy's love interest, but they're basically holding her hostage, and she has to keep serving them booze.
Yeah, what a champ. She's like, I'll keep pouring these gremlins these shots and lighting their cigarettes. And this, of course, like, this whole scene is debatably the most iconic. It's where most of, like, I think, when I think of Gremlins, I think of all of them being bananas in the bar.
Yeah. Eventually, she grabs a Polaroid camera and starts to take the pictures because...
Rule number 3.
Yes.
No bright lights.
No bright lights. They freak out. As we've seen with Gizmo a couple earlier times when he says, bright lights, bright lights.
So cute. You'll have to insert that actual bright lights.
No, it's just going to be me. But I'll raise the pitch.
It's actually Howie Mandel.
It is. We'll get more into that later. Next is the weirdest scene of the movie. So she escapes to find Billy and Gizmo at the bank.
Right, and this is where she has this like weird heart-to-heart with Billy about why she hates Christmas, which is that like it's technically, I think, an urban legend.
Yes.
Of her dad dressing up as Santa and falling in the chimney trying to surprise them and like breaking his neck. It's very weird. It's very morbid.
It feels so out of place.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh no, that sucks. Not really, but it's that kind of feeling, and then they just never talk about it again.
Yep.
It was Christmas Eve. I was 9 years old. Me and Mom were decorating the tree. waiting for Dad to come home from work. A couple hours went by. Dad wasn't home. His mom called the office. No answer. Christmas Day came and went, and still nothing. I went to try to light up the fire, and that's when I noticed the smell. Firemen came and broke through the chimney top, and me and Mom were expecting them to pull out a dead cat or a bird, and instead they pulled out my father.
This was actually almost cut from the movie. When executives were like, hey guys, what the fuck was that?
Right. They were like, is this supposed to be funny? Is this dark humor? Is this like supposed to be a pivotal point? So weird.
This is really dark for a PG movie. When this heart-to-heart ends, they realize things are quiet.
They basically follow like I don't know, I guess the tracks, the noise.
The trail of destruction.
Yeah, and find that all of the gremlins are hanging out at the movie theater.
And they're watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
I love this part too. Like the gremlins are like in the projector room, like trying to get it going. When they finally do, it's like a toddler that's like screaming until you turn the movie on, and they all like settle in and they sing the song.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the song, the Hi-Ho.
Yeah.
I've never even seen the movie all the way through.
No?
No.
I didn't love that one growing
song.
up, but like, yeah. Hi-ho, hi-ho. It's off to work we go. That's how it goes.
I didn't know the words.
That's weird that you don't know the words.
It's weird that you do know the words. Yeah, they're all eating popcorn and going crazy still, but...
And also there's another shot of the gremlin that I didn't mention earlier, but the flasher.
Oh, yeah.
The one flasher gremlin is like flashing the camera at the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs screening. Yeah, wow, classy.
You're watching Snow White. And they love it.
Now knowing that all the gremlins are in one place, Billy, Kate, and Gizmo come up with a plan to try to get rid of them all at once.
And this is where I think they go down to like the boiler room or something,
like that.
and they set off like a huge fire, thus blowing up all of the gremlins in the movie theater.
Yeah, they like turn on the gas or do something with the gas, and then they light like this newspaper outside the front. And as the gremlins are all chasing them out, they like lock the door behind them and blows up the whole building.
But of course, our boy Spike had left to go get more candy in the different store.
His name is Stripe.
Shit. Of course, our boy Stripe has escaped this explosion because he needed some more candy.
He was lured away.
Yeah, he busted into like kind of like a mall type thing that was next to the movie theater. And so he is the only survivor.
This is definitely the most intense part of the movie. Goriest, definitely. But yeah, this mall is, I don't know, it's very weird. Because one second they're in like a candy store, and then the next they're in like a Ace Harbor Freight kind of thing.
I think it's almost like a Kmart or something.
Must be, because there's all these like tools and buzzsaws and...
Yeah, and Stripe like beats the shit out of Billy. He's like throwing like saw blades at him. I think he like shoots a BB gun at him.
No, he shoots him with like a nail gun.
A nail gun, yeah.
Something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is.
There's a lot.
But he's actually injured.
Yeah.
Eventually, because this mall apparently has everything, Stripe eventually finds a running fountain.
Right. And this is when Gizmo comes to the rescue in the little car, and he like propels himself into the skylight and opens it, thus exposing Stripe to the actual sun that's rising at this point and burning him up.
Literally melting his flesh off the bone. It's not just like melting him. Mm-hmm. You see, it's just like his flesh dripping off the bone.
It's very cool.
It is very cool.
It looks very much like stop motion Evil Dead type
but it's
stuff.
Not stop motion.
It's not, but it looks cool.
It looks very cool.
After all of this, the shop owner figures out what has happened and returns.
How did he find him?
I don't know, really. Probably because of the news and stuff. Like, he got to that town. And also, there's obviously some kind of, like, mystical magic involved. He probably just knew where Gizmo was once he got close. That's at least my thought. But anyways, he comes to take Gizmo home, and there's, like, the saddest little bye, Billy, from our boy Giz.
And Mr. Wing scolds the family, basically saying the West is not ready for such a creature.
Right, but he does tell Billy that, like, maybe when you're older, you'll be able to have a Mogwai of your own. But it's still pretty sad. Columbus, who's the one that wrote this movie, said that his inspiration came from his loft, when at night what sounded like a platoon of mice would come out and he would hear them skittering around in the blackness, which was really creepy. And that's what inspired the Gremlins. The special effects relied mainly on puppetry because an earlier attempt to use monkeys was abandoned because a test monkey panicked when he had to wear a gremlin head.
Go
Go ahead.
No, you say your thing first.
I was just going to say, which is insane, because why under any...
They were going to need a lot of monkeys. Like, how is this going to work?
And you can't, like, train a monkey to do all of this stuff around other monkeys.
I mean, a monkey went to space.
Yeah, but you're not going to train 50 monkeys to drink beer and smoke cigarettes.
Maybe they really like beer and cigarettes.
It
doesn't make sense.
It's so crazy.
Dante is quoted as saying, "We got a monkey and got a gremlin head on him. And he ran all over the editing room and shat all over everything. And we realized that this wasn't going to work."
It's insane to me. I just, like, after I read that, I just imagined this movie with monkeys wearing masks instead. And it's such a different type of scary and weird, and it never would have
I don't think it ever would have been good.
No.
Because they wouldn't have talked.
It's kind of like how in, like, Deep Blue Sea, they talked about how they actually investigated training a shark to do things. Like, people are insane.
Anything to save a buck.
Animals are animals, no matter what.
The puppets were designed by Chris Wallace, also known for his work on The Fly, Piranha, and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
When the movie was made, all of the Gremlins were animatronics, each costing between $30,000 to $40,000. And when everyone left the lot for the day, the security people would actually have to make everyone open their trunks to make sure that they weren't taking things because, they could just
were that expensive.
They could just go home with one of the Gizmo puppets and sell it for $30,000.
Yeah, and I'm sure they only had a few.
Right.
And they definitely couldn't make more.
The Gizmo puppets were frustrating because they were so much smaller. And obviously the Gizmo one had to have so much more expression and required a lot more work to actually make sense within the scenes. So the crew actually asked if they could include a scene where something bad happened to Gizmo because they hated him. And they had a list that they had created called Horrible Things to Do to Gizmo, which is what inspired the scene where he was on the dartboard.
Especially because this is, the 80s. Animatronics aren't crazy advanced.
Right.
So those tiny intricate parts are going to break down a lot. Even today, stuff like that happens on set.
Right. Like in our previous episode, we talked about Krampus, that robot that they 3D printed. It still like smoked and fell apart.
Yeah, it almost caught on fire.
And we're talking about something that was made in 2015 and not 1986, 85?
84?
Yeah. So, yeah, the amount of frustration must have been very real and valid.
Yeah, and that's the other thing with, props and puppets and all this thing is they're not toys. So they're not mass produced. It's a few engineers and props people all, pulling all-nighters from weeks in advance. And, there's only a couple of these things. There's like 4 of them, and they're figuring it out on the fly as they go for the most part. The film almost ended up much darker. A few scenes were cut and rewritten, including one which portrayed Billy's mother dying fighting the Gremlins and then throwing her head down the stairs at Billy when he arrives.
It's insane. So instead they're like, we'll just have them strangle her with Christmas lights. We don't need to actually decapitate her.
Or kill her.
Kill her.
Another scene also cut from the movie was one where the Gremlins ate Billy's dog.
And then there was another graphic scene that was cut where the Gremlins are at McDonald's eating the customers instead of the burgers.
Yep. What a much different... That would have been so different.
And it just would have added so much more gore. Like,
Yeah.
they couldn't have... Yeah.
This would have been R for sure.
Yeah, a decapitated head going down the stairs makes it an R movie.
But yeah, I think now we need to talk about how... Basically, this movie was one of the movies that created the PG-13 rating.
Steven Spielberg, who was an executive producer, of course, wanted this movie to appeal to, like, parents taking their kids to it. But because of, like, the gore, the rating system, like, they were really pushing for this to be an R-rated movie. So this one and a few others is what created the PG-13 rating.
Because it was just too much... Because PG literally is, like, parental guidance. You should be able to take almost any kid of any age to go see it. And this movie is not that.
Yeah, it definitely is for older kids or kids with parents to explain what's happening, I guess.
And like a PG-13 rating, any kid couldn't just show up to the theater and go see it.
Right.
By themselves.
Exactly.
Although being a Christmas movie, this was released on June 8th, 1984, the same day as Ghostbusters.
So weird. I don't think about these two being the same time as well.
No.
Ghostbusters and Gremlins, but same day.
And I believe the two Gremlins and Ghostbusters were the two highest grossing films of the year.
Like I kind of mentioned earlier, Howie Mandel, who you know from Deal or No Deal, and America's Got Talent.
He's the Deal or No Deal guy.
Yeah, in America's Got Talent, he's a judge.
Oh.
And he's also a stand-up comedian, but back in the 80s, he was a really popular voice actor, and he was the voice of Gizmo. So weird.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Yeah, you didn't know that.
Nope.
So Howie Mandel is very well known for being a voice actor on Muppet Babies. I loved that show when I was a kid. And also, he did 7 seasons of a cartoon called Bobby's World. I loved that show when I was a kid.
You did show me a trailer for that. Or an episode.
Yeah. And he is Bobby. He's the main character, a young kid whose voice is almost like Gizmo's. A more articulate Gizmo.
The only thing that Howie Mandel did not do was the singing. And I guess that was someone's daughter that did like the humming type singing stuff.
Little to no actual dialogue for the Gremlins and Mogwai existed in the script. In addition to several instances of on-set rewrites, changing or adding to much of the script, the voiceovers were mostly ad-libs, repeating snippets of just performed dialogue or in reaction to other sound effects or environment. To this end, Howie Mandel recorded Gizmo lines phonetically for foreign dubs of the movie, where localized dialogue and in-jokes make the movie very successful worldwide.
That's amazing. That's something I never would have thought of. Just doing different inflection versions of the gibberish so that they could fit it in to like sound like haha, but how, you know what I mean? Yep. But however that would be received in a different language. That's brilliant.
It is.
Damn, Howie Mandel. This is like my favorite random fact that I've come across about a movie in a while. But I actually found the revenue for VHS rentals for this movie because this was in the time of Blockbuster and when things were booming. And in 1985, it made 79, that's billion, right?
No, that's million.
Million, damn. $79 million in video rental stores.
That's a shit ton of money.
That's crazy. But that also makes sense going back to that June release date, is that it is very Christmas heavy, and I bet everybody went to Blockbuster to get it to watch in December.
Speaking a little more on the PG-13 rating, it's actually one of Spielberg's other movies that caused this rating, and it was Spielberg himself who pushed for the PG-13 rating. His movie Temple of Doom was originally supposed to be rated PG as well, which is another, like, it's scary. It's not crazy gory,
sorry. Temple
of
Doom is the one where they rip a guy's heart out.
Kalima.
Yeah, that's really
he rips
scary.
a guy's heart out.
Because I saw that as a kid, like definitely under 13, and it scared the shit out of me.
But it was so smart of him to push for the PG-13. Because, I mean, like, imagine if Temple of Doom and Gremlins were like Saw or
Yeah.
it's just
No,
it's not
totally.
that bad. But there's no way those movies could be PG. Not even in like
But
the
yeah,
70s, 80s.
if it was PG, can you imagine like your parents being like, okay, go watch Temple of Doom, 7 and 8-year-old child, have a great time. We're going to go see this other movie.
Yeah.
And you see that, what is it? The ripping the heart out.
Kali Ma rips his heart out. Yeah.
Jesus. Without a parent there, oh. The film score was composed by Jerry Goldsmith, who won a Saturn Award for Best Music for his efforts. The music from this movie is super iconic and to me immediately recognizable out of context. I actually tried to get Sean the vinyl of the soundtrack, but it is like rare and very hard to find. And
It's hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds of dollars.
It's like trying to buy a Turbo Man. But I mean, a Turbo Man's like $400.
Yeah.
But yeah, the record is what, 500 or 600?
It wasn't 500, but it was like more than I would spend for like the gag of giving you the Gremlins soundtrack.
I would play it. In total, there are 4 human deaths that are on screen.
And there's something like 500 gremlins because there are a lot.
They explode.
Yep.
But I would say the most brutal gremlin deaths are the ones with the mom.
Yeah, because those are kind of like, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
But it also feels like she went from 0 to 100 right away.
She's a good mom.
They weren't attacking her immediately. They were being little shits and maybe grabbing at her. But
If you saw that shit in
I
your
wouldn't
house,
stab it. I don't know.
what would you do?
I'd run away.
Run away?
I'd grab Palmer. We'd just be gone. I don't know.
No.
I'm not going to throw one in the microwave.
Okay, yeah, that was actually really intense.
I couldn't live
and
with
it like
that.
blows up. What?
Yeah.
How? You couldn't live with that?
If I killed an animal by
Kill that messed up baby Yoda.
If I killed an animal by blowing it up in the microwave, I could not live with myself.
You can watch this movie on Amazon. Well, you can rent it on Amazon. But just buy the DVD. We
Yeah.
got it for like $6.
Yeah, very cheap. It's old.
Any of these old movies we talk about, you can get the DVD or the Blu-ray remaster for a couple more bucks. I think we got the Blu-ray for this one.
I don't know.
I don't remember. But we own it, and it was like $6. It was from that haul from
Yeah, from FYE at the
FYE.
mall.
Yeah.
For our final holiday movie for 2020, we're talking about the slasher movie that kind of started all slashers, which is the 1974 Black Christmas, directed by Bob Clark, who also directed A Christmas Story.
He directed A Christmas Story?
He did.
What a strange turn of events.
He likes Evil Christmas, and then he likes Good Christmas.
I much prefer Evil Christmas. I'm very excited to do this. I'll take any excuse to watch Black Christmas.
I haven't seen it in a while. It's good, though.
It's we're talking about the OG one.
Yeah.
This movie probably has more remakes than most.
I think it was 3 or 4.
It has like 3, I think. At least 3.
One just came out.
Yeah, there was
like 2020.
Yeah, there was a 2020 one. There's like a 2015 one. There's like a... Because it came out in the 74. I think there's like a 90s one as well. But it's just a classic. It definitely doesn't need the remakes.
Yeah.
Just watch the original.
And the original also has some really big name horror actresses in it that we'll definitely talk about too. So it'll be a good episode.
It's going to be a very, very good episode because this is where Halloween learned a lot of its stuff.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
Yep. Stay safe and stay creepy, and also follow us on all the things.
Follow us on all the things.
And please rate us on all the things.
Yep.
It always helps.
Happy almost holiday time.
By the time this comes out, it is holiday time. It is holiday time right now.
It's not the holiday. There is more than one. I don't know.
Whatever.